Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is wanted by the International Criminal Court for war crimes in Gaza. But in Britain, people are in jail for protesting against Israel's largest arms firm, Elbit Systems.
Hi, if you're seeing this, I have been remanded for taking action against Elbit.
That was Palestine Action member Fatema Zainab Rajwani, a 20-year-old student who was arrested in August after breaking into an Elbit site near Bristol and allegedly causing £1 million worth of damage. Her case, part of the Filton 10, has seen police use terrorism powers to deny bail. I'm joined now by her mother, Sukaina, who kindly agreed to speak to Declassified about her daughter's situation.
Thank you so much, Phil, for having me on the show as well.
Sukaina, can you tell us why your daughter decided to join Palestine Action?
Fatema Zainab feels very strongly about social justice, and to have seen live genocide unfold in front of her eyes with the stories and the pictures coming out of Gaza every single day for the past year plus now, really affected her really badly. She felt very helpless, very distressed. For the past year or 10 months into the genocide, she went onto every single march, every single protest. As part of her uni, she participated in encampments, teach-ins, and so forth. And it was 10 months into the genocide that she found it really frustrating that the government is not listening to her voice, as well as the voices of hundreds of thousands of people taking to the streets every week, calling for a ceasefire and now calling for an arms embargo at that point. And I think it was at this point that she felt the need to take direct action and to do something herself, because Fatema Zainab did not want to be complicit in the genocide with arms manufactured in the British soil, sent over to kill innocent people, to murder babies, burn children alive. And this is when I feel she decided to take direct action.
And she took that action in August with 5 others who crashed a van into an Elbit factory and damaged equipment, including quadcopter drones. It would be a month later that the UK's Labour government suspended exports of drone components to Israel, admitting that they could be used to kill civilians. But Fatema Zainab has remained in custody ever since that protest. How did you find out she'd been arrested, and what was your reaction?
On Tuesday, 6th of August, and this is one day after her 20th birthday, Fatema Zainab was arrested along with 5 others on site for an alleged action at the Elbit's Arms company. I actually found out when I opened the door on Wednesday morning to 2 police officers on my doorstep early morning with a search warrant for Fatema Zainab's room. They told me that Fatema Zainab is in custody and that I should be expecting a phone call from her later on in the day to sort of, let me know what's happened, and that they cannot share any further information on that. So I was quite taken aback. I've never had any dealings with the police before. It was a shock to see the police on my doorstep. And then as the day went on, I didn't hear from Fatema Zainab. Actually, I didn't hear from her for 2 weeks. She wasn't allowed a single phone call to me from the point she was arrested until 2 weeks after. We were all really worried, really stressed, not knowing what was happening. And it was later that we found out that Fatema Zainab and the 5 others that were arrested together were rearrested in the middle of the night in a court hearing under the Terrorism Act, which then allowed the police to exert extra powers on them. They were kept on in solitary confinement for up to 6 days, interrogated day and night, kept in solitary confinement, not allowed to reach out to family and friends. It was a horrific ordeal that we went through.
And although ultimately the police didn't press terrorism charges, from what I've heard, it sounds as if they're still being treated in prison as if there is a terrorist connection to this case. Can you tell us what that's been like for you as a mother, trying to visit your daughter in prison, and what she's been able to tell you about the conditions that she's facing?
Initially, when they were arrested, Fatema Zainab and the others that were arrested with her on site, so that made 6 of them. And then a further 4 were arrested, at their houses, at different sites, some of them at gunpoint. And after that, a further 8 have been arrested. So there's a total of 18 political prisoners at this point for the same action behind bars. So in terms of Fatma Zainab, the first week she was in solitary confinement with no access. I was not able to, speak with her or visit her or anything. I got my first phone call with her 2 weeks down the line from the point of arrest, and I was able to visit her 3 weeks into her arrest. And it was a very emotional meeting at that point. And I would say that because of the counter-terror powers that the police are using, it has it has placed a lot of restrictions on all of those that are arrested, um, as we already saw with the initial phone call and the initial visit that took ages to materialize. And then on top of that, there was a non-association order that's been placed upon them. They're not allowed to associate with each other. And the funny thing is, I wouldn't say it's funny as such, but it does make you wonder because there are other political prisoners along with Fatima Zainab and her co-defendants at Bronzefield, who are climate activists from Just Stop Oil, and the non-association order now extends between them as well, which is not heard of. You know, I've never heard of something like this, that a non-association order encompasses 2 different groups of prisoners in 4 different, actions. And then in terms of Fatima Zainab, because of the institutional Islamophobia that exists in prison and her being visibly a Muslim, um, I have seen extra restrictions on her. She was subjected to multiple random drug tests, which no one else was subjected to. Um, she's been um, she's been having difficulties observing her hijab, her headscarf that she wears. On top of that, we're not able to provide her with any religious resources that she's entitled to practice her religion. The authorized resellers do not source or sell any of these materials, and we can only send in books and CDs from authorized resellers, which do not offer any religious resources. And then on top of that, Fatma Zainab, only in Fatma Zainab's case, she's not allowed any mail. All her mail has been withheld from her. Anything that we send her is taking ages to be processed and given to her. Um, you know, uh, I would say 6 weeks ago, friends and family sent her books to read, CDs, and these are all from authorized resellers. It's been 6 to 8 weeks now, and she hasn't received anything. So, all these extra measures, I fear, are due to the Islamophobia that she's facing in the prison.
How much longer will Fatima Zainab have to stay in prison before this case goes to court? And what do you expect will happen when she is finally put in front of a jury of her peers? I know in other Palestine Action cases that I've covered, jurors have actually been very reluctant to convict protesters once they've heard the testimony of what was happening in Gaza and what motivated Palestine Action to take the steps that they did.
The trial date for the Filton 10 has been set for November 2025 at Woolwich Crown Court for up to 10 weeks. In Fatma Zainab's case, she has been denied bail twice so far, in spite of meeting all the conditions for bail. Um, she has literally just turned 20. She doesn't have any past history of criminal record. Um, we've had references of good character for her, and we've put down a hefty sum for guarantee for her bail. And in spite of meeting all conditions, she's been denied bail twice. And on that point, if Fatma Zainab is not given bail at the next appeal, that would mean that she will be in prison without even having stood trial or found guilty for 15 months, as the trial is next year, November 2025. And by the end of trial, that would be 17 months in prison, in remand. It just seems to me that the system is trying to stop anyone raising a voice for Palestine or taking any action for Palestine. We've seen this with the recent arrests of prominent figures and journalists like Richard Medhurst, Sarah Wilkinson, Asa Winsley, and so forth. In terms of the trial itself, if the judge does not put extra restrictions on the case, as we have seen recently in the recent past, with the climate activist cases and the previous Palestine Action cases, on what they can argue in their defense, for example, taking direct action to stop a genocide, then I am hopeful that this will allow the jury to decide the verdict with their conscience and increase their chances of an acquittal. However, we have seen the justice system has been quite harsh, and we have recently seen judges deny them this defense, therefore making them out to be regular criminals rather than people of conscience, as then they cannot argue that they took action to try and stop a genocide. And this is all very, very concerning. The UK is allowing an Israeli weapons company in UK to sell arms to an internationally recognized war criminal to commit a genocide. And they would rather side with a genocidal Israeli weapons company than with people trying to stop a genocide.
I think a lot of people are outraged by the treatment of your daughter and the other defendants in this case, but it's been very scarcely reported in the national press in the UK. Have you been getting much support, and what can people do to support you through this difficult time?
So the support is there. We are trying to raise awareness as much as we can, on the media, on social media as well. But like you said, there's been very minimal reporting and awareness on mainstream media. It is very important to raise awareness of the plight of the Palestinian people, the situation that they're facing, that they're suffering as they are bombed and starved and burnt alive out of existence. In terms of what we can do, the way forward would be to continue holding our governments to account for complicity in the ongoing genocide in Gaza, and to stop weapons supply to Israel as soon as possible. On a personal level, to support Fatema Zainab and the rest of the Filton 10. We've got a petition that's reached 34,000 signatures right now. So signing the petition, showing up for the hearings, showing up for the trial to support their case is very important, to show that people are on board, they are supporting the Filton 10. And then to apply pressure on MPs to question in Parliament, to question the government about the abuse of counter-terror laws, is also important as individuals, and to see how this impacts the freedom of speech in Britain and the right to protest. Direct action is recognized as part of protest, and to use counter-terror powers for protesting, for trying to speak out, is something that we all need to raise.
Thank you, Sukaina. What strikes me about your daughter's case is how it shines a very important light, not just on how Israeli arms companies are able to operate in the UK, but also the lengths that the British state will go to when people try to stop a company like Elbit Systems. It seems like the criminal justice system has become increasingly politicized and is being used as a tool to clamp down on this kind of protest. I'll put more details in the video description below about this campaign, and if you haven't already subscribed to our channel, please click the button below. If you'd like to help Declassified make more videos like this, you can donate through the Super Thanks button below, or on our website. Thanks for watching, and thanks especially to Sukaina for speaking to me today.
Thank you, Phil.